A very interesting story brought down in the book of Melachim, book of Kings. Talks about Chizkiahu Melech. So Chizkiahu Melech, they say, he was a big tzaddik, big righteous king. He did a lot of good things. He did a lot of teshuvah from the sins of his fathers, right? Who was his father? Ahaz. Ahaz was big Rasha. So Chizkiahu was his son. Ahaz big Rasha, Chizkiahu big tzaddik. Big difference, right? So what happened was that Chizkiahu, with all the time that he was a king for a long time, many, many years. So what happened was that he did teshuvah and he fixed up everything. He took away all the avodah zarah. He took away all the sins from Am Yisrael. He brought everybody to do teshuvah. Big tzaddik, Chizkiahu. And they say not only that, but he told people, like this. He told them, whoever leaves the Bet HaMidrash, everybody has to go and study Torah now. Everybody. Men, women, children, everybody has to go in. Whoever leaves the Bet HaMidrash, he says, here's my sword. I'll kill him with my sword. Nobody leave the Bet HaMidrash. So he did a big teshuvah, he did a big tikkun. What happened was that they say, after he made this takana, they checked, to see how well people know the Torah. So they saw that even the little girls and boys, know the very complicated halachot of Tumah and Tahara. Because he forced them to learn, without any way to get out. No excuses. This is what happened with Chizkiahu. So he brought them to do teshuvah. Why did he do this? What was the reason why he did this? The reason was because Ahaz, his father, took away all the Torah. He was communist. Ahaz, communist. He closed down all the yeshivot, closed down all the houses of study. No more learning Torah, no more nothing. His father, Ahaz. So what happened was that Chizkiahu said, since he closed down the whole Torah, the only way to bring it back is to do something extreme. So what's the extreme? That everybody goes in now and learns Torah. Everybody. I don't care who it is. Man, woman, child, everybody. I don't let anybody go out. All right, so you're going to ask me a question, right? What about Parnassah? Right? How are they going to make Parnassah? So Chizkiahu told them, don't worry, it's on me, I pay for my pocket, don't worry. I support everybody. Whoever learns Torah, I support him. I don't care about nothing. Don't ask me questions about Parnassah. Don't ask me questions about these things. They asked him, what about Tzava? What about army? We need army to fight against our enemies. So he told them, no, I don't want army. I'm closing down the army. Can you imagine? He closed it down. Sagar. They asked him, what's going to be if the enemies come against us, right? Paras, these people, right? Khamenei, right? What's going to be with us? So he says, don't worry, Hashem is going to protect us. We're learning Torah. We don't need tzava. We don't need army. Nothing. So what happened was, in the end, it's true, right? Sancheriv came, to destroy the land. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle, for Chizkiahu and his people over there in Yerushalayim, and they all got destroyed. Hashem destroyed them. He sent Malach. He sent an angel, and he destroyed everything, all the enemies, all the armies of Sancheriv. They say that this war, right, that came against Chizkiahu, Sancheriv, was supposed to be what? Which war? Gog uMagog. This was supposed to be Gog uMagog. Hashem said, you know what? This guy, Chizkiahu, he's big enough to be Mashiach, I'm going to make him Mashiach. Right? And Sancheriv is going to be Gog uMagog. That's it. Finished, right? So what happened? In the end, right, there wasn't enough zchut for Chizkiahu to be Mashiach. What was the problem? Why not? He was tzaddik, he did everything, Torah, Talmud Torah, right? Mitzvot, everything he did. So what was he lacking? So the Chazal say there was one thing he didn't do, Can you imagine? If he would have done this one thing, he would have been Mashiach. Chizkiahu. What was it? They say, when he won the war against Sancheriv, he didn't want to sing a song, Shirah. When the Jewish people, they win against their enemy, they have to do Shirah. This is the proper way to do. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. right? When they Az Yashir Moshe, when they went against the Egyptians, and then again, right, Shirat Devorah, right? When Devorah was victorious against the enemies, she also made Shira. But Chizkiahu, he didn't want to do Shira. He was a little bit too dry, a little bit, right? He wasn't a musical person. So he didn't want to do Shira. So that's it. So Hashem said, oh, you don't want to do Shira? I'm sorry, you cannot be Mashiach. That there's the Chazal say something interesting, right? About Az Yashir Moshe. We say this every day in the Tefillah. So they say, how do you know, where is a proof from the Torah that there's going to be Tchiat HaMetim? Where's the proof? In the Torah, in the Chumash. Where does it say there's going to be a Tchiat HaMetim? So you can learn it from Az Yashir. From here you learn there's Tchiat HaMetim. How? How do you learn from there? What's the pshat? So the pshat is that it says Az Yashir Moshe. Now, if you know Hebrew a little bit, tell me now, what does this mean, these three words? Az Yashir Moshe. What does this mean?
He will be singing.
Right. Meaning what? It's in the future. Oh, why future? It should be now, right? Az Shar Moshe. That's the way it should be. Yashir, in the future. So it says the Zohar Kadosh, you know what this means? That when Mashiach comes, then Moshe will sing, right? Az Yashir Moshe. Then he will sing.
Oh.
Why? Because Moshe is Mashiach. Same guy, right? Hu HaGoel HaRishon, Hu HaGoel HaAcharon. That's what it says. So, Chizkiahu didn't want to sing Shira. Okay, very interesting, right? Interesting story. Nice. But you know what happened, right? Afterwards, after HaKadosh Baruch Hu made this miracle for Chizkiahu, all these things, you know what happened? There was this king, right? Melech, in Babel. You know where's Babel, right? Iraq. So, what happened? His name was Baladan, Ben Baladan, something like this, right? Ben Baladan. So, what happened was, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one of the nisim that he did for Chizkiahu, you know what it was? He held up the sun, in its place for several hours, and didn't move. It moved the head. That's what happened, right? It moved the head. So what happened was, right, that this king, in Babel, Ben Baladan, one day, he went to sleep, at night, and he wants to wake up, Kings usually are a little bit lazy, they're not the most zariz. So they wake up a little bit late, 9 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, like you guys, right? You come over here 6 o'clock. Not like that. They wake up 9 o'clock. They want to sleep a little bit more, a little bit relaxed, luxury. Luxus, they want to live like that, right? So what happened was that this guy, he usually sleeps until 9, and all of a sudden, he wakes up, and what time is it? 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Up! What's going on over here? So he goes to his slaves, his servants. He tells them, he says, what did you do? You let me sleep all day? You didn't wake me up? He says, I'm going to kill you. What did you do to me? I slept all day. What am I, some kind of a bum? You let me sleep all day like this? I guess he didn't have an alarm clock, right? No cell phone. Otherwise he could have said it. But anyway, right? The point is that he told him, he says, I'm going to kill you. You let me sleep all this time. So you know what they told him? They said, Your Honor, the king, Melech, right? For the Melech. He told him, he says, it's not our fault. He says, we didn't let you sleep all day. That's not what happened. You know what really happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a nest, the miracle, and he put the sun ahead this day. And because of this, there was a nest, the sun went ahead, so the day was gone early. So the Melech asks them, he says, excuse me. He says, for who did he make this nest? God, who did he make this nest for? So he says, there's tzaddik over there, in Melech Yehuda, in Israel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it for him. He's a tzaddik, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it for him a nest. He moved the clock ahead. Right? Daylight savings, right? Whatever. Right, so he says, wow, this king is such a tzaddik like this? He asked him, he says, he's a big tzaddik like that? So what does he do, He sent his emissaries over, to visit him, to visit Chizkiahu, because he wanted to see, how is he, what kind of person is this? What kind of personality does he have, Who is this guy? I want to see who he is. So he sends his emissaries over there, So Chizkiahu, they tell him, the king of Babel, he sent his emissaries to you, You want to accept them? So he said, yeah, let them come in. Let them come in. So what happened? He brings them in, right, into the palace of the king, right? Hechal HaMelech. So what happened was, right, that Chizkiahu, not only he brought them into the palace, he made them dinner, nice, party, banquet, right, seudah, and he made them a seudah, and they say, that his wife also, the Malkah, Chizkiahu, she served them, to give them honor, to give them kavod, served them food, she served them, not some, waitresses, right, not the maids, she did it herself. She served them, to give them kavod, they're malchut, these people, malchut. So he gave them kavod, and then after the dinner, right, is over, seudah is finished, right? So not like over here, we go to Arvit, right, after Seudah Shlishit. He didn't take them to Arvit. Where did he take them? He took them to the Bet HaMikdash. Can you imagine? He takes them in there, and what does he show them? He shows them the the teva of Moshe Rabbeinu, right, where the luchot were. He shows them the teva, and he opens it up and shows it to them. He says, you see, these are the luchot of Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, we win the wars in the schut of these things, that we have. The teva, right, all these things, the ark. So they checked out everything, they saw everything, He showed them also other things, how they make the ketoret, the incense. He showed them also that, what's going on with that. He showed them a lot of things. Inside the Bet HaMikdash, can you imagine he brought them in there? So, next day, right, after they left, comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, to Chizkiahu with a Navi, right? He tells him, he says, excuse me, Your Honor the King, Melech, right, Melech Chizkiahu, who are these people who came to you yesterday? The Navi is asking him, who are these people? So he says, these are from the king of Babel. They came to visit me, to honor me, because of we won the war, the Milchama. So the Navi tells him, he says, because you did what you did, he says, you should know that your great-grandchildren are going to go to Galut and be slaves in the Hechal of Melech Babel, Nebuchadnezzar. This is what he told them, So the question is, when we see this pasuk, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu punish him for this sin? What was the sin that he did? This is the question. So, the Gemara says right about this, the Talmud says something very sharp about this, very sharp. It says that you should never, listen to this, right? So you learn from this story that don't ever, right, invite a goy to your house to serve him food. Because if you do that, your children are going to go to Galut because of this sin. This is what he did, as I told you, right? His wife served them food, to these goyim. You're not supposed to do that. It's not a good thing. It's not asur, according to halakha. But you should only do this if you really need it. Not just to show off, What happened was that he was showing off to them, telling them, you see, we got this, huh? Aha, we got that, right? Oh, you see? That's why we win the war. We got all these things, So the sin was, according to this, that he served them, food, these goyim, brought them into his palace, and served them a seudah. What do you need this for? Why are you bringing a goy to your house to serve him food? What you're his eved? You're his slave? Why are you giving him kavod? The only reason we do this, sometimes to invite a goy is because, we need him for something, The community, let's say, needs him, he's a politician, right? He's a governor. He's a mayor. So we give him kavod. A melech. We give him kavod to have good relations with the goyim. That we do. That's okay. But here he didn't need to give these people kavod. What kavod does he have to give them? What's the kavod? You know what I mean? He didn't.
Avraham Avinu gave kavod to goyim, and Shlomo HaMelech also did the same thing for many years.
Okay. So now, when you talk about Avraham Avinu, here's the thing, right? Avraham Avinu, in those days, there was no goy, there was no Jew. Everybody was the same. You know what I mean? After Matan Torah, then you have a goy and a Jew. That's the way it is. But Shlomo, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, Shlomo.
Everybody used to come and see how smart he is.
Right, that's true. But it doesn't mean that he invited them, to serve them food. You know what I mean? They used to come, they used to visit, yes, but that doesn't say that he made sodot for them, It doesn't say that.
Diplomatic reason.
What can I tell you, Anyway, interesting thing, right? So that's according to the Talmud. This was a sin, that he showed off to them like this, gava, and giving them food, these goyim, What are you giving them food for? Some, like, today, you can imagine, some guy comes from Iran, one of those mullahs, mullahs, you're going to invite him to your house and give him dinner? He's your enemy. Why are you feeding him for what? Anyway, right, that's the thing. Now, here's the thing, right? But according to Zohar Kadosh, there was a different sin over here, that he did, Chizkiahu. Look what it says, right? According to Zohar Kadosh, he says that the sin of Chizkiahu was like this, that he opened up the secrets of Hashem, right? The Teva, right? And all these, the Ketoret, all these things which are supposed to be hidden, and he showed it to them, displayed it to them, all these secrets. They're not supposed to be shown to the Goyim, these things. They're supposed to be hidden, these things, So according to Zohar Kadosh, this was his sin, that he opened up these things to show them, like to show off, But the thing is that these things, which are very kadosh, holy of holies, kodesh kadoshim, they're not supposed to be shown to people like this. They're supposed to be hidden, It's too kadosh to show everybody like this, To make a display out of it, some kind of a flea market, That's not what it's supposed to be. These things. Okay, Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen, Amen. Rabbi Chanan Kashomer, that's Kadosh Baruch Hu Lozek B'Yisrael. Lefi Chachiv Ba'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenamar B'Nei Chafes, Leman Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadir.